Now let's get a bit of perspective on this issue. I'm now being joined on the news at 10 by an industrial relations expert, Mr. Monday Ajay. He joins us from Abuja. Thanks a lot for joining us on the news at 10.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Now we find ourselves in this position yet again. Why is it so difficult for the parties to just agree and then stick to what has been agreed?
In every agreement, it takes a mature individual to take decision and also implement the decision that they've agreed upon. Regrettably, in Nigeria, it has been a culture, especially on the part of the government, when it's time for them to act towards the implementation on their own side of the contract, it has been an endless story, as if they were in the forces and forced into this agreement. But as we have it generally, it's a Nigerian factor that we need to collectively address so that this crisis we are seeing on a daily basis, which are avoidable in the first instance, can really be contained, and then the society will be peaceful, and then everybody will play their role towards the upliftment of the society. Regrettably, that's not the case we have in Nigeria. When you go into agreement today, tomorrow, when it's time to implement the terms of the agreement, it has become another issue entirely. And that is a sharing of hope and a sharing of purpose towards going into contract of agreement, which is missing in our own climate. Very, very unfortunate.
Yeah, some of the major issues the lecturers are talking about are unpaid salary arrears, and then obviously the issue of release of funding for university revitalization. And that issue remains unresolved to this point. Other than ultimatums and then going on strike, what are the options that are open to them at this point?
The issue of ASU strike, as we speak, is a pathetic one indeed, because when you look at it from the legal point, you discover that they have little or nothing to enforce, because the agreement per se is what we regard to as a collective agreement, which is not enforceable per se under our law. Because when you look at the provision of our law, there is this doctrine we call doctrine of privity. That is, it's only a party to an agreement that can enforce or approach a court of competent jurisdiction for the enforcement of such agreement. But when you look at it again, by the enactment of our law, that's the law that established the National Industrial Court, give that court power to interpret and also enforce collective agreement. And that's the option that is left for ASU to take. But the fear that we're also having is that ASU as a body is an institution. And an institution cannot, and not individual can apply for the enforcement being reached. But that's why they find it difficult now to approach court all these years. And when you look at the content of the agreement, which are not been meant to us to see practically, you will discover that at the time they are entering into this agreement, there is no intention to enforce any legal obligation. It's just like gentleman agreement. The only option left for ASU in this circumstance is to sit down on the round table, because we are talking about how many years ago that this issue has been agreed upon. It is now the duty of ASU to come back to reality and meet with the appropriate authority and even carry along some other organization that will have sympathy for them, because as I speak, it's no longer ASU affair. They cannot win this battle alone. There is need for them to carry some other association along so that they will be able to achieve the desired end of their aim towards this strike. Because as we speak, it's no longer the issue of strike. Strike can no longer solve this problem because it has been abused on several occasions. I sympathize with them. It is their right, and they have the right to embark on strike. But what we are saying, when you're using a particular drug to cure a particular ailment, and does not provide solution, there is need for you to strategize. And the only thing for them to do now is to come to a round table and have a frank discussion with the federal government by carrying some other body along, like labor union and some other union that has sympathy for their cause, so that at the end of the day, they will be able to reach a concrete arrangement that is enforceable, and at the end of the day, both parties will be happy at the end of the day.
Okay, finally now, we continue to talk about the fall in quality of graduates that our schools are producing, yet the schools appear to be more closed than they are open. In looking at what you've said about the quality of people who should be at the table, what is the first thing you would advise them to do when they sit down at that table, beyond the discussion of how much it'll take to get the lecturers back?
See, in every agreement, there is this give and take policy. You can't come to the table for settlement or conflict resolution and you still stand on your position or ground that it must be A or S. You will not go back to your work. Let's get it clear. I'm not saying ASU does not have the right to embark on strike. That's not my position. They have every constitutional right to embark on their strike and do what they are doing. But what we are saying is that what they're supposed to do at this stage is for them to come to the round table. Not only them, they should want the sentiment of other institutions, other unions, like labor, which is the parent body of all unions in Nigeria, to come together and tell the whole world that, look, we are back to this table. We have suffered a lot, and now we are back because we put the interest of this student at heart, and that's why we are here. And the world should watch out that anything we are going to do at this stage should be implemented so that by the time we go back to where we are coming from, nobody will blame us. Then at that stage, the whole world will have sympathy for them that, look, these people have exercised enough patience. Now it's left for either the government to play the outside of the government. But if they are doing it alone, I don't think they can achieve much because that has been the cause of action that they are making on strike all this while, and there have not been any result.
All right, Industrial Relations expert, Mr. Monday Ajay, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us on the News at 10 tonight.
It is a pleasure. Thank you for having me.